So Joy Reid is at it again. She's on a podcast this time, talking, literally saying that, I took notes, Donald Trump is turning America into a ghetto. Okay? He's turning America into a, quote, third world ghetto. The nerve. The nerve of this lady. Third world, I wrote it down. Third world ghetto. So it wasn't the Biden-Harris open border policies that you can't make this up, quite literally imported the third world into our country. That wasn't ghetto. That wasn't turning us into the third world. No. She went on to advocate for China. I'm seeing this common theme where you have people in this country who are rooting against the United States. She likens China to the movie Sinners and said they are like the indigenous people who warned us that the vampires were here. So not the vampires who took all of our tax dollars and gave it to all the illegals. Literally drained us of all of our money as a country, almost bankrupting our country and our cities. That's not being a vampire. So Trump is the vampire for closing the borders, for creating Doge to go in and figure out where all of our money has gone. None of that is vampirism. Okay. And then went on to talk about China in such a loving way as to say, oh, they're like the indigenous people that warned us. You mean the Chinese Communist Party?
Can't with these people. We got to get into this Joy Reid video real quick. I'm going to play that and then we'll get right back.
Now, I'm not saying that that regime is not bad. But by the way, our regime is not good. Our regime has secret police. They have secret police. Our regime is oppressing women, taking away abortion rights, taking away women's rights in like 26 states, some states where they're trying to have the death penalty for having an abortion. They also oppress women. They have the highest rate of women who are in STEM careers. We're kicking women out of the military, out of university. We're saying that DEI means women can't be hired for high positions in the sciences. We're marginally better. And we're doing it for Christianity. They're doing it for Islam, right? Yeah. So it's like we don't get told those things because it would take away the kind of American exceptionalism narrative that makes it easy to take our people and send them off to die in a war that we have nothing to do with, that we don't want.
This lady is an enemy to America. For the life of me, I don't understand why she stays here if she hates it so much. When she talks about the military, I got to put this out here, man. Hey, 55 to 60% of the United States military are white people. 30% is black, and you got another 20% or so of others, whether it's Hispanics and Asians, so forth and so on. And the large majority of those people come from middle-class families, and more times than not, they come from families of generations, previous generations of people that served. Most of the people that have served in our nation, they come from either parents or grandparents or great-grandparents, or all that has served. It's the craziest thing ever, man. This lady is comparing Iran to the United States of America, talking about they have secret police and all these other types of things. These people are enemies of our country. And if America was so bad, you wouldn't be able to say the things that she has said. And the thing is, the beautiful thing is that the average American doesn't agree with this lady. And they don't agree with these Democrats out here. They don't, thankfully. I want you guys to see this poll. Y'all already know when CNN drops these polls, they do it begrudgingly. But I want you guys to see it for yourself.
But so far, there's kind of been a little bit of a collective shrug from the American public. What am I talking about here? Well, let's just take a look here. Americans who say they care a lot about the Iranian situation. Look at this. It's just 45%. Just 45% of Americans say they care a lot about the situation going on in Iran. Compare that to the U.S. economy, which, of course, is the number one issue right now in this country. We're talking 84%. That is a very, very high number. And this 45% number, only about half that and below 50%. So despite all the hubbub, right now we're talking about less than a majority of Americans who say they care a lot about what's going on in Iran right now.
But the war in Iran does affect the U.S. economy.
That's going to be the question going forward.
Yes. So going forward, we'll have to see what happens with the war and how it affects gas prices, et cetera, et cetera. So is interest starting to rise, or is it kind of just falling off?
Yeah, this to me, again, just such an interesting number, because we have this 45% right here. But take a look at Google searches right now, because it just sort of reinforces that point. Americans, Google searches for Iran. Look at this. Down 84% versus February 28th, when, of course, the current war started in Iran. And if you look back on Sunday, you look back yesterday, searches for the Academy Awards significantly higher, are talking about 3-4 times as high as searches for Iran in the United States of America. So at this point, outside of the situation in Iran perhaps affecting the U.S. economy, which, of course, is the number one issue, is what Americans are focusing on, I'm just not thinking that this is necessarily going to be the big political mover and shaker that you might expect, given that this has kind of been a pretty gosh darn big deal, at least globally speaking.
It certainly has. So then taking a look at what's happened with the president and whether his popularity has changed at all, just judging on this, what are you learning?
Yeah, what are we learning? Which is, perhaps it's not so much of a surprise when just 45% of Americans say they care a lot about the Iranian situation, that the president's overall approval rating is the same. It's the same. It was 41% before the current war in Iran started, and it is 41% now. So despite, again, all the hubbub, despite all the critics of the president of the United States, what we are seeing right now is a president whose approval rating is steady, and this has not been a big deal politically.
Yeah, it's not. Because I think the American people have an understanding as to why things have transpired the way it is. And we're winning. And so far, the operation has been a success. Yes, we have lost some service members, and my hearts and prayers go out to their families. My condolences to their families. We have lost some service members, but people around the world are celebrating this. The people of Iran are celebrating this. The people, out in Venezuela celebrated what happened. So when you look at this and you look at what's going on, one, we are winning this situation. And I would assume that this operation is going to come to a close in the next, I would say, 2 to 4 weeks. That's my assumption. Headway is being made. I want you guys to hear from the president on that, though.
Oh, go ahead, please.
Mr. President, you've said that Iran does want to make a deal. Now, into the third week of this bombing campaign, what would that deal look like? What are the ask that you're making of the government?
They want to make a deal. They're talking to our people. I don't know if they say that to you. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Don't forget, they are a country that for years, I didn't know this until recently, they're a country based on disinformation. And now they're using disinformation plus AI. And that's a terrible situation. That's a terrible situation. They showed all sorts of things happening in the last 2 weeks that never happened. Between their kamikaze boats that don't exist, between blowing up the aircraft carrier, one of the great ships in the world, the Abraham Lincoln, on fire. They showed it on fire. I called the general. I said, General, what's with the Abraham Lincoln? It looks like it's burning down. No, it's not burning down. Not a bullet was ever fired at it, sir. They know better. I said, this is my first glimpse of AI and what they've done with it. They showed buildings in Tel Aviv burning to the ground, high-rises burning. They showed buildings in Qatar. They showed buildings in Saudi Arabia burning, and they weren't burning. They weren't hit. It was all AI-based. Terrible. It's terrible. And that's their only, I think that's the only thing they do well. They're negotiating. And we always talk. Somebody said, well, would you talk? Why would you even talk to them? I talk to everybody because sometimes good things come out of it. But I don't know if they're ready yet. They're taking a pounding. I don't know if they're ready yet. And we don't even know their leaders. Look, all of their leaders are dead, as far as we know. But they're all dead. We don't know who we're dealing with. We knocked out the first group. Then the second group met, 88 met to pick the leader because the first group was all dead.
Yeah, and they took them out as well. So that's the president, on this. So like I said, I believe that this operation, one, has been a success, but two, I think this thing is going to come to a close within the next, like I said, 2 to 4 weeks max. I mean, this situation started about 3 weeks ago. This operation can go 60 days without needing any additional approval from Congress. My assumption is that this thing will go almost the full 60 days and it will be a done data. I don't necessarily have an issue, with the, what has been accomplished thus far. I just don't want to see troops, inside of Iran. I don't want to see that. I think at that point, that would mean that at somewhere along the lines, we failed somewhere. But when you start talking about, the AI misinformation and things of that nature that you're seeing, that lets you know that those folks, they're on the ropes, man. They're on the ropes. It's only a matter of time. Let's keep it going.
And the same thing happened when we saw 9/11. That was because of the United States' involvement in the first Gulf War and had a long-term
You're blaming
effect.
the U.S.
I'm
for
not
9/11?
blaming the United States. I'm saying that.
Sounds like
I'm
it.
saying that what? Well, let me finish.
Sounds
I'm
like it.
saying that when we take actions across the world, that there are consequences that we don't anticipate that can happen years later. And so when we wonder why people are coming after us, attacking us, because we were attacking them.
What did the first World Trade
Hold
Center
on.
bombing? What was the cause of that one?
I'm sorry?
What was the cause of the first World Trade Center bombing?
I think that's irrelevant to this moment. I think
They're reaching. They're reaching. And it just goes to show you, man, the Democrats, man, they are anti-America. They understand that we're the world's police. They also understand that we maintain safety and peace around the world. And every now and again, you'll get some, just crazed lunatic in a position of power that loses their mind and starts to attack their own people. And unfortunately, we are the only nation that can step in and say, nah, you can't do that. What people don't know about 9/11 is that your favorite president, Bill Clinton, had an opportunity to take out Osama bin Laden around like 1999 or so, maybe a little earlier than that. And he didn't see it as being politically feasible to do it. So they decided not to do it. They let the dude go. Even though there was intel that they were planning an attack on American soil, there was intel. They knew it. They knew who it was. They knew that they were planning to do something. Bill Clinton had an opportunity to take him out, and he wouldn't give the go-ahead to take this dude out because he thought that it would make him look bad and make the Democrat Party look bad on the political, from a political perspective. You can go look this up. This is all public information at this point. So Bill Clinton has blood on his hands because he decided not to act because he thought that it would make him look bad. It's ridiculous. Now, word on the street is that there's well over 10,000, terror cells. There's Iranians all throughout our country that have come over here through the open border policy of the Biden-Harris administration, and that there was a quote unquote imminent 9/11 2.0 attack here in our country. That's the word on the street, and that's a lot of the reason why the president decided to act when he did. That's the word. We have a president that's about being proactive, not reactive. We can't wait until something happens and then say, you know what, we got to do something about it. That's not how you keep Americans safe. And for all of the people out there that are saying like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, they're sending troops off to die, so forth and so on. When you raise your hand to protect and defend this nation, to uphold the Constitution and follow the instructions and the orders from the commander-in-chief, which is the president of the United States, you know exactly what it is when you signed up. We all do. A lot of these guys, this conflict, they were already over there. They didn't get sit there. They were already there because it was part of the job. People may not know this, but the ships are going all the time. They don't just sit in port waiting on something. We're already out there. There's entire MEUs already out there. There's entire battle groups already out there patrolling, doing what we do best, practicing, waiting. And if you've ever heard any conversations from Marines or, from Army soldiers, that are in that infantry unit or any battle unit, all they talk about is getting some action. That's all they talk about. I know this to be true. And if I have any of my folks that are watching the show today that are Marines, that are soldiers, y'all know I'm telling the truth. If you listen to the conversations of these guys, that is all they talk about. They cannot wait to get some action. I always thought it was the craziest thing ever because I was a smart guy. You know, I was in operations department. You know, I had one of the smart jobs. But I remember standing in the chow line listening to these guys. And it's just like, wow. But CNN, they should be ashamed of themselves, man. Seriously, the Democrat Party, they should be ashamed of themselves.
Caroline, President Trump says that other countries should now step up to safeguard ships in the Straits of Hormuz. Why should other countries that were consulted about this war, that are involved in this war, now put their troops in harm's way in the Strait of Hormuz?
Because these other countries are benefiting greatly from the United States military taking out the threat of Iran. The rogue Iranian regime has long not just posed a threat to the United States of America, but of course to our Gulf and Arab partners in the region. As you see, I believe Iran has struck more than 300 civilian targets in the Gulf region. If you think about Europe, their ballistic missile capability that the United States military is currently wiping out was a direct and imminent threat to our European allies as well as our bases in the region, which is why President Trump took this action in the first place. So these countries are absolutely benefiting from ensuring that Iran can never obtain a nuclear weapon. This is something not just the United States, but the entire Western world has agreed with for many, many years. So I think the president is absolutely right to call on these countries to do more, to help the United States to reopen the Strait of Hormuz so that we can stop this terrorist regime from restricting the free flow of energy. And the fact that they are doing so just underscores why President Trump needed to take this action in the first place.
Yeah, and not to mention, it would benefit everybody, right? The gas prices are up because the strait is blocked right now. It would benefit everybody. Gas prices would come down immediately once that situation is rectified. These people, I just don't understand it, man. I really don't.
So I heard the new leader of Iran wants to take out you know who. And leader of Iran, if you're seeing this for any reason, I just want you to know that most of us are rooting for you. Actually, but I think most of us would like it to be kind of slow and painful, if you wouldn't mind. Okay? Go get them, bud.
Wow. These people who claim to live in a fascist nation, who would call, folks in the MAGA movement Nazis, so forth and so on, they sure are emboldened to just get online and say some of the craziest things. This lady here, she ain't the only one. Y'all seen her information, so if y'all want to do something with that, by all means, have at it. But there was another lady, there was a black woman that got out there and she was saying the same thing. There was another dude that got on X and he said something similar and was mad that they shut his account down. For people to call the president a king and a fascist and a dictator, they sure don't act like it. They sure do not act like it. Goodness gracious. You couldn't talk like this in an actual communist nation. Are you kidding me? You couldn't talk like this if you actually lived under a dictatorship regime. You'd be hidden. Your family would be hidden. These people are ridiculous, man. I want to hear from you guys. Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the notifications on to all so you never miss an upload. Keep God first. Stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you guys next time. Peace.
It is God who arms me with strength. Yeah, I'm battle ready. He trains my hands for battle. My heart stays steady. But thanks be to God, He gives us the victory. Through my Lord Jesus Christ, fear can't live in me. I was down to the dirt, red clay on my shoes, old pain in my shirt, oh so bruised. In the Lord hit my chest, kicked death from my breath, put power in my step.